should have brought my glasses. I didn't realize it was this dark up here, but that's okay. No, we're fine. Is everybody ready?
Take your stance. All right, Chief, thank you.
Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Assistant Police Chief Lyle Martin of the Bakersfield Police Department. And first and foremost, I'd like to offer my condolences to the Cerna family. This is a very tragic event, and it is tragic when a family loses a family member at any time. When you lose a father or grandfather during the holiday season, that makes it that much worse. I feel that it's important to set the stage for this press conference, as in, these are the expectations that I have set forth for the 500 employees of the Bakersfield Police Department, and what the public can expect from me as your new chief starting tomorrow. The investigation into the circumstances that led to the officer-involved shooting of Francisco Cerna is still ongoing, and following are the facts as we know them at this time. I know there are going to be questions at the end. I will do my best to answer the questions that you have. However, this is an ongoing investigation, but I felt it was important for the public to know what I know up to this point. On Sunday, December 11th, 2016, at approximately 4 p.m., a resident in the 7900 block of Silver Birch Avenue reported a subject banging on his doors and windows. As he went outside, he recognized the subject as Mr. Cerna. As he went up to contact Mr. Cerna had one hand inside of his jacket and was attempting to pull this subject out of his residence with his other hand. The resident felt that Mr. Cerna had a firearm, however he did not see one, but by Mr. Cerna's body language, he surmised that he possibly had a firearm. Mr. Cerna was not successful in pulling this subject out of his residence, and he left. This subject described Mr. Cerna's behavior as bizarre. At approximately 12:35 a.m. Monday, December 12th, a second resident, who was the passenger in a vehicle, had returned home, and as she was removing things from the vehicle, she noticed Mr. Cerna standing behind her. So Mr. Cerna began asking her about her reasons for being at the residence and was acting strangely. Mr. Cerna then asked to get into the vehicle. At this time, she described Mr. Cerna having one hand inside of his jacket, and she described what she believed to be a firearm. She said that the driver, her friend of that vehicle, opened the back door, and as Mr. Cerna began to look inside, she ran inside her residence and her friend drove off. She went inside her residence and reported to her boyfriend that there was a man outside with a gun. At approximately 12:37, this subject reported 911 that there was a man outside of the house in possession of a revolver, and that man brandished it at women outside. He went on to describe the man as an older Hispanic male in his late 60s wearing a brown jacket. That same man was determined to be Mr. Cerna. This subject yelled outside to Mr. Cerna, but did not go outside because of what his wife had reported to him, so he believed that he also had a firearm. At 12:41, officers John and Selman arrived on scene and approached on foot, not knowing where Mr. Cerna was located. The officers spoke with the woman and her husband to gather more information as other officers were arriving on scene. As officers were congregated in the front yard of the residence of the reporting party, and Officer Selman was speaking with her, she alerted to officers saying, quote, "That's him," as Mr. Cerna was exiting his residence. Officers immediately began to take cover. The RP and her boyfriend went inside the residence and closed the door. Mr. Cerna began walking across the street while officers are yelling commands to him to take his hands out of his jacket and to stop. Mr. Cerna traversed his front yard, the sidewalk, across the street and into the driveway of the reporting party, while officers continued to give him commands to stop and to take his hand out of his jacket. As Mr. Cerna began to walk directly towards Officer Selman, several officers continued commands which were ignored. As Mr. Cerna got within 15 to 20 feet of Officer Cerna, Officer Cerna fired 7 rounds at Mr. Cerna. Officer Selman fired 7 rounds at Mr. Cerna, striking him, and Mr. Cerna fell in the driveway. Officers rendered medical aid, and emergency medical aid was summoned to the scene. However, despite their efforts, Mr. Cerna was deceased. No lower levels of force were attempted by any officer. It is not known exactly how many rounds struck Mr. Cerna. That information is based on the investigation and will be reported by the coroner's office. Officers did not locate a firearm at the scene, and it's concluded that Mr. Cerna was not armed at the time of the shooting. The officers involved in this shooting and the witness officers have all been placed on routine administrative leave. Officer Reagan Selman, who is the officer who fired his shots, has been with the Bakersfield Police Department since July of 2015, and this is his first officer-involved shooting. Those officers will remain on administrative leave until a review by the Critical Incident Board. Those are the facts that I know at this point, and I will take any questions.
Chief, let me ask you, did any of the witnesses who reported, either the first one, the man who said he was trying to be brought in by Mr. Cerna, or the woman, did anybody say they actually saw a gun, that Cerna actually had a gun? Did they say, I saw a gun?
No. But she described what she thought was a gun, is how she described it. However, when her boyfriend reported to the 911, and you will all be provided the 911 tape at the conclusion of this press conference, the husband reported to the officers that he had a revolver.
Why wasn't less force used? What goes into determining that?
The fact that we thought we were dealing with an armed subject, it's approximately 20 to 30 seconds passed from the RP saying that's him to the first shot fired. So officers are taking cover, giving commands, trying to put together a plan, and as Officer Cerna advanced on Officer Selman, he made that decision.
You said that they were telling him to take his hands out of his pockets. The family said that he did not speak English. Were you guys aware of that? How do you guys communicate with a person when you're telling them stop or put your hands up?
It's my understanding that Mr. Cerna did speak English, as the subject that he contacted at 4 o'clock said he spoke with him, and he spoke with him in English. That's my understanding from the detectives.
Was he known to any of these officers who were responding as somebody who had dementia?
I don't have that information.
In the scanner traffic, we heard the dispatch telling the officer that he had dementia. Is that something that would have been communicated to everybody else responding, or just that one officer that she spoke to?
I'm not quite following your question.
In the dispatch, the communication between dispatch and the officer, the
Yes.
scanner traffic,
Mm-hmm.
she tells the officer that there is a hazard on that address, and that the person, and she names him as Francisco Serna, that he has dementia.
The officers, as I understand, were not dispatched to Mr. Cerna's address. They were dispatched across the street. I've not listened to the. I'll tell you, I've not listened to the dispatch traffic. I've only listened to the 911 call.
And what they were told was that a person at that residence had dementia, identified as Mr. Cerna. However, the officers did not know at the time when Mr. Cerna came out that Mr. Cerna was the individual they were speaking of.
Chief, how do you work with, there's been a lot of cases, obviously, of people with disabilities out there, and while it may be impossible to know right at the moment if such a person has disabilities, national organizations that deal with the disabled have picked up this story, they're commenting on it and saying that it's another case of our police are not trained or prepared to deal with people with disabilities of this type. How do you address that?
Well, I address that from two different standpoints. All of our officers in the academy are trained in critical incident training. CIT training is what the acronym is now. We work directly with MET, the medical evaluation team. However, in this instance, not having that information and they're having to make a call in 20 to 30 seconds without any direct information regarding Mr. Cerna and his condition, I can't tell you that they could have made a determination as to what his condition was based on him walking towards them. They're being told he had a firearm and that's him. So it's kind of tough to address that in 20 seconds.
What other kind of force was used? I heard there were canines used to when the incident happened.
I'm not aware of any other force. As I reported earlier, no lower levels of force were used in this incident that I'm aware of at this moment.
The neighbor right next door to Cerna showed me 3 bullet holes inside of his house, so it would be across the street from where the shooting happened. Is that common for a shooting to happen so far and bullet holes enter in 3 different places in the next door neighbor's house, one of them into his room, the other into his kitchen?
Is it common?
Yeah, I mean, it's like across the street, so is that, are you guys looking into that? It's like
Yes, yes. We investigate, we try to find every bullet strike, every piece of evidence that we can find, but the reality is we sometimes miss, or sometimes projectiles go through the target and go into something else. So yes, we're looking into that. We're aware of those 3 bullet strikes. We've talked with that homeowner, and we're working on that.
Are you looking into, of all the officers, only 1 fired? Have you talked to the other officers about why they didn't choose to fire and why only 1 did?
Those are the questions that, when I said that there's some things that I can't answer, those are the questions that are going to be asked. Those are the questions that I will ask of the critical review team when they come back with their finding, is all of those types of things. Who fired, who didn't, their thought process, where they were standing, what their view was of the incident.
Chief, being that no officer actually saw Mr. Cerna with a gun, but the fact that dispatch told him that a neighbor had called in that he'd seen a revolver, how big of a role does that play in officers going out to a scene thinking there's actually somebody out there with a gun, though they never actually saw a gun?
That plays well into your mind, and the fact that they're at the residence speaking to the subject who says that he has a gun, and then she immediately says, that's him. So it's a totality of the circumstances. But yes, you're preparing for those types of things. You're running mental scenarios through your mind as you're going to the call. You're being told that there's a man with a revolver who's got his hand inside his jacket, and lo and behold, when you're confronted with it, there's a man coming towards you with his hand in his jacket.
Did Mr. Cerna ever respond to officers?
Not that I'm aware of.
So he never said anything at all?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, I don't have all of the information. I'm giving you everything that I have up to this point, and we will provide more information as the investigation continues. But at this point, I don't have that.
And how many officers were involved?
One officer fired,
Right. But how many
6
were-
officers, 6 witness officers, 7 officers total.
Aside from Mr. Cerna not removing his hands from his pockets, is that what you guys are referring to as not complying, or did he lunge at the officers or make any movement or motion towards them?
The walking from his residence, I mean, the continual commands, the not removing his hand from his jacket, the totality of the circumstances. So he traversed, again, from his front door, across his lawn, across a sidewalk, the street, another sidewalk, and into the driveway.
But as far as you can tell, he
walking
never...
around the neighborhood?
Okay.
How long was Mr. Cerna walking around the neighborhood before you guys were dispatched?
I don't have that information.
Chief, but as far as you can tell, Mr. Cerna never actually lunged at officers or threatened them or pointed anything at officers, correct?
Correct. Nothing that I've been told up to this point, and nothing in the investigation up to this point indicates a lunging or threatening or anything of that nature. That's correct.
Was any item found in his pockets?
There was an item found, but I'm kind of at a loss at how to describe that. So we will get you that information.
Did he own guns? Have you guys checked that?
I don't have that information. Again, I've got 8 detectives upstairs right now continuing to work on this. This is an ongoing investigation. We're 48 hours into it, maybe.
Are you aware of the protest at the scene tonight?
Protest? No. I'm aware of the vigil. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this press conference at 5:30 to give you guys the opportunity to get out there to respect the Cerna family. I cannot tell you enough that this community is affected by Mr. Cerna losing his life. This is a tragic incident for their family, for this community as a whole, and for the police department.
The family is calling it a protest and a vigil, and they are inviting people to go protest BPD, is what one of the children told me yesterday. Are you guys planning on stepping up security? I mean, we've seen in the past where you have a shooting in a location and people come in from out of town and stuff like that. Are you guys doing anything differently tonight as far as what's going on in that area?
No, this is a very delicate situation. We respect the Cerna family and their right to grieve and the grieving process, so we will try to stay out of that area because having officers there could just ignite something. Now, if we get a call for service and we need to go in and provide services, we will, and we'll do that with respect and dignity to that family.
Chief, several community groups led by Faith in the Valley, in a coalition of several churches in the Central Valley, have been calling for greater transparency within the Bakersfield Police Department. They said they extended an invitation to you personally to meet with them at Mount Zion Church last night, but it was declined. They say they want to meet with you, they want to talk with you, they are critical of BPD practices, but they want to work with you to avoid these kinds of situations in the future. Are you willing to meet on a monthly basis with groups such as Faith in the Valley and other groups in and around Bakersfield to address these issues, especially in minority communities?
I have had contact with Faith in the Valley. I've been very clear with them that once I take office and get my command staff in place, that we will meet with them and set the ground rules for any types of meetings and that type of correspondence. I'm not going to commit to anything right now. Specifically, I did promise them that prior to giving any media regarding our interactions or non-interactions, that I would respect them and speak with them first. So, Jose, that's how much I'm going to give you, because I feel like I owe them that, to at least speak with them first before I address it.
Chief, what can you say? You just starting the job officially tomorrow and being faced with this situation tonight, kind of like hit the ground running with, it's just a bad case of timing, but how is that beginning of your career in this new position?
It's easy to lead when there's nothing going on. Okay, a true leader has to get out front of it. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm setting the tone. This transparency, this is what the public can expect from their police chief. I'll give you the facts as I know them, and as more facts come available, we will give those to you. When things are bad, I will be out front. When things are good, my employees will be out front. That is what leaders do, and that's what this community expects of me, and that's what they're going to get.
Have police responded in the past to the Cerna residents, and do you know what those responses were about?
I don't have that information. The detectives will have that, and that'll be part of the complete investigation.
Can you spell Officer Selman's name?
It is Reagan, R-E-A-G-A-N, Selman, S-E-L-M-A-N.
Thank you.
He's been on the force for how long, sir?
July of 2015.
You mentioned a John earlier. Was he the responding party with Officer Selman, or is that
Yes, Officer Johns. They
Johns.
arrived at the same time.
together?
Different vehicles, but at the same time.
I don't have that information. I don't know if they were a two-officer unit or a single unit.
And to confirm, you said seven shots were fired?
That's correct. Sarge, what time do you have?
It's 10 minutes to 6.
Okay, again, my condolences to the Cerna family. We as a department believe in treating people with dignity and respect, and out of respect for the Cerna family, I'm going to end this conference now so you guys can go out there and cover that, because I know that you want to. So thank you.